Today we're with my good personal friend and colleague Michael Grant to talk about building professional brand as a part of the Human Intelligence series. So Michael, to kind of kick us off, what is professional brand and why should an individual be mindful of their professional brand?
Sure, absolutely. Well, first of all, Brett, thanks for having me. This is a topic that I'm very passionate about. I've actually conducted several training sessions on soft skills, or what I like to say is are essential skills in the workplace for a variety of different companies. And so, technically a brand is an associated symbol or sentence associated with an organization or a company, something to, kind of display a mark that offers a distinguishing difference between that particular organization and their competitors. However, professional brands, refer to different associated characteristics that, make up a person and an individual and what they can bring to the table professionally for an organization. There are some things to be mindful of in terms of your professional brand, such as, outlined in this book here, which is The Hard Truth About Soft Skills. And in this book, it talks about the top reasons why employees have challenges and some fail globally in the workplace. And at the top of the list is lack of being coachable. So the lack of coachability, followed by the lack of emotional intelligence and self-awareness, then motivation, and lastly is technical competence. So that's, kind of fascinating to a lot of people because, a lot of individuals that are entering the workforce have, some training, they have earned a degree, they have some kind of technical skills that make them qualified. However, that's just not enough in this day and age. You also have to be mindful of, how you can take direction, how you can take constructive criticism and feedback. You have to be coachable. You have to be self-aware. There are a lot of challenges and disruptions globally in all industries, and so how you handle frustration, opposition, all of the change, all of those things matter and are associated with your brand as a professional. So everyone, as an individual in the workforce, has a brand, whether they know it or not.
That's amazing. And to me, we've talked about this topic a little bit before, and the most amazing thing that you just said was the fact that the last reason why people fail are their technical skills.
Yeah.
And so in a way, it almost seems like you learn what you need to do to do a job, and then you continue to grow, or you continue to build on top of that. And I always thought that maybe the reason people failed was because they couldn't technically do what they needed to do.
Yeah, that's a common perception. But, like I said, and this is a really good book, especially for, young people entering the workforce that, really need to think about establishing their professional brand. And then once you've even established a brand, it's maintaining that brand. And, I've been fortunate to work for two of the strongest brands in the world. One is Michelin North American headquarters in South Carolina, and then also Wells Fargo. And so, in my time there, we had extensive training on the brand and how we had to care for the brand, how we could, properly display the brand. Very thick books. 3 and 4 day training sessions on the brand. And it really opened my eyes as to why brand reputation and perception is so powerful and so critical, especially in business globally. But when you think about it as an individual and a professional, you think about, how to maintain your brand. There was a brand compliance team at those companies that, their complete job was to monitor the brand's use and to address any violations that could potentially negatively impact the brand and the reputation of the organization. And so when you think about that, to me, individual's brand compliance team is their conscience. It's, if I'm late to this meeting, how will it be perceived? How will I be perceived if I come unprepared, unorganized, if I'm late in producing, my deliverable in this project? How will that negatively impact my brand as a professional? And so thinking about those, negative or positive impacts in terms of how you conduct your day-to-day business and job tasks will go a long way in terms of establishing and maintaining a good professional brand.
Now, another question occurs to me because of this, because of the diligence that's needed. Is it helpful or is it important to have some reflection of your true personality as a piece of your professional brand? I would see that it might be difficult to maintain if it wasn't. And you and I have worked together for almost 4 years.
That's right.
And we definitely have different styles. Yeah. So do you think that this kind of extends beyond the workplace a little bit and then comes back in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point and great question. You can definitely bring your personality, into the workplace, and things that have shaped your worldview, your sense of humor, your hopefully a positive attitude, and all of the different things that make up us as individuals. One of my favorite questions to ask people in the interview process is, if you could choose any 3 words to represent you as a professional. Is kind of like a 3-word tagline, like a lot of brands have. If you think about Dave & Buster's, it's eat, drink, play. Just a 3-word catchy tagline that, from a marketing perspective, tries to help shape their brand. If you think about Wrangler Jeanswear, real.comfortable.jeans, right? You see Brett Favre and some of these, guys throwing a football in the backyard. And so there's a perception and an emotion and association that they want tied to their brand. What 3 words would, you choose as an interview candidate to represent you as a professional? And it's always fascinating to hear the responses in terms of those 3 words on the fly that you gravitate towards, that you want associated with your professional brand and what you bring to the table, including your personality.
Right. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Sure.
3 words for Michael Grant's brand. What would they be?
Absolutely. Dedicated, resourceful, and determined. And so, and I can outline each one, but I'm not interviewing. But those would be the 3 that I would choose. And so it's always fascinating to, hear what candidates, choose to represent them. Is there a 3-word tagline that, I say, imagine this might go on your business card. It might be displayed right outside your workstation. What 3 words would you choose and why? So it's fascinating to hear that breakdown. And so, but when you think about brand, and, we all have our favorite brands and preferred brands, as consumers, restaurants that we like to go to, electronics that we like to purchase, cars that we prefer as a brand more than another. And so when you think about what makes you as a consumer gravitate towards or be loyal to a particular brand versus another, what the findings show, and from discussions that I've had in a lot of these training sessions on essential soft skills and brand development as professionals, direct and indirect experiences are critical. And so when you think about, brands, like one of my favorite brands is Chick-fil-A. And that comes from my direct experience going to a variety of different Chick-fil-A restaurants and getting consistent, top-notch customer service. It's a friendly smile. It's, very professional, decor and attire. And it's my pleasure, and what else can I do for you? And because of my direct experience with that brand, I'm loyal to that brand. And I have a good perception, and they have a good reputation with me as a consumer, versus indirect, where maybe I have never owned a Toyota, but because my friends and family and coworkers have, and they speak very highly of that brand, I have a good perception of that brand, and I might now consider, owning a Toyota at some point, in the future, because of the indirect feedback and testimonials that I've received. So my question is, and how that ties into this discussion is, what do people say about you as a individual, as a professional, people that have worked with you directly on projects? What would they say as far as the contributions you made to that project and the hopeful success of that project and that outcome. What negative impacts might, you have brought to a team, that, someone might have heard indirectly, right? So, direct and indirect experiences really go a long way to help shape either positively or negatively someone's professional brand.
Very interesting. And by the way, I'm pretty sure, some Chick-fil-A bags in my Toyota minivan. But so, Michael, what would be the most common thing that someone might struggle with when developing their professional brand?
Yeah, well, great question. And I definitely think that just realizing that you have one, whether you realize it or not, people are adding things up, they're talking, and they are really looking for people that can be consistent, positive contributors to projects, right? Every organization has goals, they have a mission statement, they want to do the best that they can to provide a service, to create a product, and so those that are actively looking to get better and being mindful of their temperament. And just like how we kicked off and I talked about some of the top reasons why people have challenges or fail in the workplace is coachability. How am I taking direction from people on my team? How am I exhibiting my temperament, and am I self-aware of what my strengths even are? All of those things play a strong factor in success for a professional.
Do you feel like it's more difficult for someone who is an extreme extrovert or an extreme introvert to really manage their brand, or to really build a brand in a specific way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's a fair question. I would love to see some studies conducted on that in terms of, designated introverts and extroverts, and, kind of maybe some experiments to really, kind of vet that more. But in my opinion and from my experience, I think that it really comes down to your conscious and, just really being mindful of, wow, if I'm late, if I lose my temper, if I show frustration, what impact will that have on my brand? And so, really just trying to be mindful is the key, that, everything that you do as far as contributions that you bring, and it's not just technical abilities, it's
right.
all of these other factors that kind of fall under the essential soft skills umbrella of emotional intelligence. How can I try to work well with my team, knowing and kind of seeing the triggers that can kind of, come into play in team dynamics? How can I be the best team player that I can be while we all have, qualified, competent technical skills? Those are some different dynamics that are at play, whether you're an extrovert or introvert.
So, quick last question,
Sure.
because I think we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Give me 3 quick points.
Yeah.
I've just decided now that I want to make sure that I'm more purposeful building my professional brand.
Sure.
Honestly. So give me 3 quick points, 3 things that I can think about as I'm doing this.
I can do that. Choose to have a consistently positive attitude. Right? There's a lot of different, most people are juggling a lot of balls, experiencing some frustration, some disruption in the workplace, but you can choose to be positive with how you respond to those challenges in dynamics in the workforce. Number 2 is be self-aware. Know your strengths and look for opportunities to contribute to the team's goals so that you can showcase those strengths. And then lastly is to just speak up. Ask questions to try to seek a greater understanding. Those are the 3 tips that I would give anybody in terms of how they can build and establish their professional brand.
Oh, this is great, Michael. Really, thanks a lot. I feel like we learned a lot today, so thank you personally. Thanks to the audience for joining us today, and be sure to follow us on Facebook to see future segments of Human Intelligence live on Facebook. And while you're at it, might as well like this video.
Yeah, like the video. Thank you.
Thank you.